Mais sur le plan politique et diplomatique, c'est vraiment l'Égypte qui a remporté cette guerre, ainsi que la Syrie. Et puis aussi, l'image du monde arabe a complètement changé. Et dans la guerre de 73, la guerre du Kippour, il y a un photographe britannique qui a fait des photos de chaussures d'Israéliens qui étaient dans le désert. Et donc, du coup, on a pu dire, ben voilà, la légende du soldat qui perd ses chaussures dans le désert s'est retournée aujourd'hui contre Israël. Et c'est de cette façon que l'honneur du monde arabe a été rétabli, grâce à cette guerre de 73. Et puis, c'est aussi une armée égyptienne qui est cette fois beaucoup plus entraînée, beaucoup plus motivé, qui connaît beaucoup plus son ennemi et donc qui sait exactement quelles sont les faiblesses de l'ennemi.
And that's really what the Egyptian generals do between 1967 and 1973. They take this Soviet doctrine, and it's useful, it's a starting point for them, but they adapt it in ways that the Russians had never imagined. In fact, many of the Russians are horrified. They think that what the Egyptians are doing is ruining their doctrine. And they are very, very disparaging of the Egyptians right up until the war when they see the Egyptians put it into effect. And they suddenly realize why the Egyptians have changed their doctrine, have adapted it the way that they had, because it then makes possible the operations of the canal crossing and the successes that the Egyptians enjoy at that period of time.
And Sadat, as soon as his troops on boats crossed the canal, moved up pontoon bridges and brought across powerful water hoses. And they blasted away the sand barricade. So then the Egyptian tanks could roll through there.
When the Israelis begin to counterattack on the 7th and 8th of October, they still don't understand what they're facing. They still don't really understand how the Egyptian army has changed since 1967. This time around, the Israelis run into a new Egyptian army. This is an Egyptian army that is now learned. And so this time, on the 7th and 8th of October, when the Israeli tanks go charging at them, expecting to run into Egyptian formations like in 1967, the ones that they had defeated effortlessly, all of a sudden this time they run into a solid wall of fire. They are hit by hundreds, thousands of missiles. Egyptian infantry dug in, reinforced by tanks and artillery behind them, and the amount of firepower that the Egyptian formations are able to generate is something that the Israelis have never seen before. And the Israelis are baffled, they are dumbfounded by this.
Shocked everybody by the improvement. The Egyptians in 1973 fought bravely and well and skillfully.
That Egypt is now much more competent at certain kinds of operations than the Israelis had ever expected. And the Egyptians are now forcing the Israelis to fight in a way that is more conducive to Egypt's advantages. The Egyptians come across the canal in ways the Israelis never expected. They fight the Israeli forces along the canal in ways the Israelis never expected. And then they defeat the inevitable Israeli armored counterattacks in ways that the Israelis never expected. That's hugely important. Those battles in that canal crossing operation are what changed the course of the Middle East. That makes it the most important battle of all.
Mon meilleur souvenir côté Égypte, c'est la traversée du canal de Suez avec le général Ahmed Ismail Ali qui était ministre de la Défense. Donc il y avait vraiment un enthousiasme, il y avait beaucoup de débordements, de passion pour ces soldats égyptiens qui accueillaient leur ministre, qui avait réussi cette opération de franchir le canal de Suez.
The Egyptians got up off their knees. The Israelis came down off their high horse. Egypt achieved a restoration of its self-respect. Egypt got rid of the sense of shame and defeat. that had hung over the country ever since '67. I was there when the Egyptians regained control of El Arish, the biggest town in the Sinai. It was a day of national celebration. And Sadat went there and everybody, they were not going to go back again away from El Arish. The 1973 war was different. Because of what happened in the oil market through the embargo and OPEC, because of changes in military doctrine, how wars should be fought, it seemed to me that the 73 war had impact globally outside the Middle East, which is why I thought this was such an important event.
بقوة النصر العسكري الكبير والذي ورغم مرور 50 عاما على تغييره مجرى التاريخ، إلا أن الجميع بات مؤمنا حتى اليوم أنه لولا دماء الشهداء والمصابين بالأمس ما كانت التنمية والاستقرار اليوم. نعم، هي رابع الحروب، لكنها ليست كسابقاتها. هي آخر الحروب، لكن رغم قسوتها ستكون أخف وطأة من لاحقاتها إذا تجرأ الظالم وعاود فعلته. فإن عدتم عدنا، وسيتكرر مرة أخرى يوم الحساب.